Okay, so how does mitzvahs and prayer be the connection to Hashem? So in Hashem's eyes, when a person is studying Torah and he does a mitzvah, at that moment you're connecting. Of course, it's not just for God, it's for us. We're connecting ourselves to Hashem, to to the source of godliness. So we're connecting one's godliness to the source of godliness at that moment. So the question that we always have, why does one, why did the base of Mikdash get destroyed? And of course, there's so many different reasons. Some people say, obviously, the Second Temple was destroyed because people didn't have enough love for their fellow. And so now, we're thrown in exile. We're kind of all mixed up. No one knows where the tribes are. No one knows who the tribes are. It's all like, there is just this love, and there's it doesn't seem like there's any more issue of, I'm from this place, I'm from this place. There's this beautiful embrace. Another point that people say is that there wasn't enough feeling involved when there was blessings. There wasn't enough feeling involved when one was studying the Torah. It was just like a very, for intellectual reasons. Well, it's very interesting. It's very, especially back then, that it was very, it helped to sharpen the mind. But that's not what Hashem wants. Hashem wants that there should be this feeling, this feeling of connection, even if we don't see it. At the moment that we're learning, at the moment that we're doing a mitzvah, and if we have a lot of feeling of love and fear for Hashem, emotion, all of a sudden we're rising ourselves up. We're going to a different spiritual world. So it's happening whether we realize it or not. The question is, are we, doing our part? Are we making ourselves aware of that? So that's another part of the Torah, of the Tanya, which I thought was really, really special. So he mentions in the Tanya the idea of tefillin and talis and how it's very special and it's very important for men especially to connect that way. And of course, it does not mention that mitzvah for women, which is nowadays people can take it out of context. They can think, women don't do tefillin or mitzvah because maybe they're not so special. Maybe they're just the tag along. Maybe they're just the helper. Really, who is a woman? And I always say nowadays she doesn't even have her own bed. In the most modern world of today, they don't give a woman her own bed. And I say thank Hashem that in Judaism, a woman has her own bed, a man has his own bed, and at the right time, a man comes to a woman's bed. So she is the main one. But here, it talks about that a woman is already spiritual. She doesn't have to get to this level. She doesn't have to be like, okay. It's like she's already dressed. She's already dressed up for the queen. She doesn't have to rush and get her tie. It's almost like the talis and the tefillin and everything. It's like, it's their tie and it's their suit jacket and it's their shoes. And you say, but what about his wife? Well, she's already dressed. She's waiting. She's waiting for him, holding the door. Say, come on, you can do it. So that's the real difference. And that's the real difference. Unfortunately, there's a misunderstanding that goes on about this whole idea of where does a woman belong. And I think that the best idea is to go back to really look in the Torah to what Hashem says is the role of a woman. What Hashem says is right, where there's the two beds, and when they're obviously permitted to each other, they're allowed to be together, but the fact that a woman should have her own space is very nice too. And the whole idea of spirituality for a woman, she's not less. In fact, she is more. She's already dressed. She's already ready. When they always say about the woman, she's always hysterical. What does that really mean? It means she's so in tune with her feelings. She gets it. She understands it. She is already there. For most men, they have to sit down and be told what's really going on. And still, they can't always tap into their feelings. Sometimes men, not all men, but a lot of men, sometimes in order for them to get in the mood to learn and show their feelings, they need a little l'chaim. They need to loosen up with an actual drink. You think about it. And you tell them, don't drink too much. You don't want to go too crazy. But they need something to loosen up because they're just starting with their intellect. And we're going to learn in Tanya, when it starts with just your intellect, the idea is to have feeling. So the best is feeling. A feeling of love and fear of Hashem. It's not the best with intellect. But if you have no choice and it's just an intellectual love, then that's good too. So that is what's really going on here. And it's something to think about when we're hearing this concept, we're just emotional, or we're feeling emotional and we're upset that maybe we're too emotional. And you know how it is sometimes, we're pointing it out to ourselves already. But at the same time, we should remind ourselves that if our emotions are guided, with, of course, our intellect, it is not a bad thing. It's a very, very good thing. Because for a man, it takes them so much for them to feel what women are actually feeling. They actually need a drink. They need a little l'chaim to be like, oh, now I understand. Oh, So it's a whole different story.